give a f. What the f y'all talking about? Fuck y'all talking about?
He ain't gonna get no charge. Dog in my.
No, it ain't even like that.
He ain't gonna get no charge.
Charges been dropped. I don't know. I'm not gonna even show that boy much so I can get with praying for his family. Cause it's a tough situation. Y'all been talking about my cousin so much.
Everybody.
Y'all been talking about my cousin so much. Charges dropped. Ain't no justified shit. And I'm looking how I'm looking. 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 Are we on that? Charges dropped? Y'all talking about? Y'all been talking all that about my cousin. My cousin's a good nigga. He made a bad decision. Man, them folks. And I'm still praying for his family. I'm still praying for his family.
He ain't gonna do no time.
I'm still praying for his family. And I hope his family praying for mine too. Because we both took a loss.
In the late hours of August 13, 2025, a beloved football coach would be shot dead after he was caught sleeping with a 21-year-old. And around 9 p.m., South Precinct officers responded to a frantic 911 call reporting a shooting at Lakeshore Ridge Apartments. When they arrived at the scene, they were met with an unsettling silence, but a grim discovery awaited them. Inside the apartment, they found the coach, unresponsive, lying lifeless in the bedroom, his body riddled with multiple gunshot wounds. The investigators quickly learned that this wasn't just a random act of violence. The coach had been caught sleeping with a 21-year-old woman, but what led to the violence that followed? Was this a crime of passion driven by a betrayal too great to forgive, or was it the tragic result of a series of choices that could have been avoided? In the heat of jealousy and rage, where do the lines between revenge and reason blur? Was it inevitable, or could the destruction have been stopped before it even started? This is the life and death of Demetrius Darnell Beverly.
He's a hard-working coach on the field. He does what he's supposed to on the football field all the time with game planning and working with the coaches and working with the kid. He did a great job here at Parker. He was a attention to detail kind of guy. He knows his insides about football, on the field with the kids. He did a good job of breaking down field and understanding the game plan of each opponent.
Demetrius Darnell Beverly was born on March 19, 1986 in Birmingham, Alabama. At 39 years old, he had earned a reputation as a beloved assistant football coach at Parker High School, a role that went beyond sports and into mentorship and community leadership. Known affectionately by his players and colleagues as Coach Meat, Demetrius wasn't just admired for his athletic background and accomplishments on the field, but for his ability to connect with young men, encouraging them to excel not only in sports, but also in life. Demetrius's journey in football began long before his coaching career. As a standout athlete at the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, he played a crucial role in the 2006 SWAC Western Division Championship team. His talent on the field earned him recognition, but it was his work ethic and leadership that set him apart. After his playing career ended, Demetrius returned to Birmingham, eager to pass on his knowledge to the next generation. He began coaching at Parker High School, a place where he had once walked the halls as a student. In this new role, Demetrius found fulfillment, inspiring young athletes to push their limits, work hard, and most importantly, make good decisions off the field. Off the field, Demetrius was also a dedicated family man. He was married, and by all accounts, his family life seemed solid, filled with the joys and challenges of raising children and maintaining a home. His close friends and colleagues often described him as a loving father who took pride in his family and tried to balance his demanding career with being present for his loved ones. However, behind closed doors, Demetrius's mindset started to shift. While outwardly he maintained an image of stability, his social media posts painted a different picture. In retrospect, those who followed him on social media now recognize a pattern of behavior that suggested a troubling lack of respect for relationships, boundaries, and commitment. One infamous post from 2012 read, "The post was one of many that hinted at a casual, almost reckless view on relationships, loyalty, and the consequences of his actions." As the years went by, Demetrius's online presence became more revealing. His posts were often flippant, sometimes making light of infidelity and commitment. In one post, he joked, These were not just harmless jokes or casual musings. They were insights into a mindset that bordered on entitlement, where Demetrius believed he could take what he wanted without regard for the impact on others. Then, in a tragic turn of events, Demetrius's disregard for loyalty and boundaries would lead to a confrontation that would cost him his life. On the night of August 13, 2025, Demetrius was inside the Lakeshore Ridge Apartments in Birmingham with Jemiah Lawson, a 21-year-old woman he had become romantically involved with. Jemiah, once a student at Parker High School, where Demetrius had coached, was now entangled in a relationship that raised questions in the community. Though the relationship had begun after Jemiah's graduation, there were whispers among those who had known them that Demetrius may have been pursuing her long before that. Some speculated that it had all started once she turned 18, but there was no definitive evidence to suggest anything inappropriate had occurred while she was still a student. Regardless, Demetrius and Jemiah's connection was undeniable, and the relationship had evolved quickly after she finished school. Despite the controversy, Demetrius appeared unbothered by the whispers. His life had been a blend of success, mentorship, and family, and the dynamic between him and Jemiah seemed like just another chapter. But on that fateful night, something unexpected would happen. At around 2 a.m., Jemiah's boyfriend, Decorlian Kishin Robinson, came home earlier than expected. Demetrius, the older mentor figure, was lying in bed with Jemiah. Decorlian, who had been working hard to provide for his family, had no idea his trust would be shattered in such a cruel and personal way. As he walked to the door, he was confronted with the image of the man who had once mentored him, now in his most intimate space, lying beside his girlfriend, a betrayal that left him reeling. But Demetrius wasn't the only one whose old social media posts would come back to haunt him. In 2020, when he was just 18 years old, Decorlian had posted a concerning video on social media showing a weapon being fired. In the caption, he wrote, "In the time, it was brushed off as a passing, perhaps overzealous statement, but in hindsight, it seemed like a warning, a glimpse into the temper and mentality that would eventually drive him to commit the horrific act that night." Looking back, Decorlian's social media history now paints a disturbing portrait of a young man who was already showing signs of the volatility that would come to define the tragic events of that night. The shock of the betrayal sent Decorlian into a rage. He had always prided himself on being a committed partner to Jemiah, and this was the ultimate blow. As a young man, he had always worked hard to keep their relationship strong, doing everything he could to provide for their household. But on this night, all of that seemed meaningless. The betrayal cut deep, and Decorlian's rage, fueled by the shock and hurt, flared uncontrollably. The situation quickly escalated. In the heat of the moment, Decorlian's anger boiled over and he confronted Demetrius in a violent manner. What followed was a split-second decision that would change their lives forever. Decorlian, unable to control his anger, left the room and retrieved a firearm, a gun equipped with a switch modification that allows it to fire rapidly. Armed with the weapon, Robinson stormed back into the apartment and confronted Demetrius. Multiple shots were fired, and Demetrius was struck several times, ultimately dying in the very bed where he had been with Jemiah. Jemiah immediately called 911, but by the time the police arrived, it was too late. When the police arrived at Lakeshore Ridge Apartments, they found Demetrius unresponsive. Jemiah Lawson was present and appeared distraught as she made the 911 call. She told dispatchers that Decorlian had come home, found the two of them together, and had acted in an uncontrollable fit of rage. Officers arrested Decorlian in the parking lot without incident. As they began processing the scene, it became clear that the weapon Decorlian used was a modified firearm. The switch, an illegal conversion kit that allows a regular firearm to fire rapidly, was a key piece of evidence. The discovery of the switch immediately changed the trajectory of the case. Under Alabama law, the possession of a firearm with a switch is a felony. Additionally, the fact that Decorlian had used this illegal modification in the commission of a murder meant he could face severe penalties, far beyond what a typical crime of passion defense might allow. The investigation quickly uncovered troubling details about the circumstances leading up to the shooting. Demetrius, by all accounts, had been an active participant in the affair with Jemiah. Some of his past social media posts revealed his belief that relationships were malleable, that boundaries could be disregarded, and that cheating was a normal part of life. But it was Jemiah's relationship with Decorlian that became the center of focus. Jemiah had once been Robinson's girlfriend, and he had been working hard to provide for their household. But the discovery of his girlfriend in bed with another man shattered him. Decorlian didn't attempt to flee the scene after the shooting. When officers arrived, they found him standing in the parking lot near the Lakeshore Ridge apartments, seemingly in a daze. The officers noted that Decorlian showed no signs of attempting to resist arrest, though the details of his state of mind remain unclear. Was he overcome with grief and regret, or did he feel justified in his actions? Either way, he was charged with murder, unlawful possession of a firearm conversion device, the switch, and several other related charges, including possession of a firearm by a felon.
Update this morning to breaking news that we first told you about yesterday morning. A Birmingham high school football coach killed in a deadly shooting. And this morning, the man charged in that waking up behind bars. Parker High School shared this post of Demetrius Beverly. The school says he was an assistant football coach. He was also a former football and baseball player with the Thundering Herd. The school went on to say that Coach Beverly, quote, gave his all to the Thundering Herd on the field and in our community. He was a mentor, a husband, a father, and friend whose impact will live on through the countless lives he touched. Decorlian Robinson is charged with Beverly was found at Lakeshore Ridge Apartments Wednesday night. Police say Robinson was arrested in the complex's parking lot. He is now in the Jefferson County Jail being held without bond.
The arrest of Decorlian came as no surprise to the community, as his actions were clearly captured by witnesses and police. However, the more complex aspect of the case lay in what came next: the division of public opinion over his actions. There were some who sympathized with Decorlian, claiming that the betrayal of discovering his girlfriend with another man was an understandable trigger for such a violent outburst. Others, however, were far less forgiving. Decorlian's supporters began to take to social media to defend him, claiming that he had acted out of sheer emotion and that Demetrius's actions had provoked his rage. One cousin of Demetrius, a well-known figure in the Birmingham community, took to Facebook to voice her frustration. In a now viral post, she defended Decorlian, stating that Jemiah Lawson's actions were just as much to blame for the death of Demetrius as Decorlian's decision to shoot.
I don't give a what the y'all talking about? Fuck y'all talking about?
He ain't gonna get no charges, dog.
No, and he ain't even like that.
He ain't gonna get no charges.
Charges been dropped. I don't know. I'm not gonna even shut that boy much so I can get with praying for his family. Cause it's a tough situation. Y'all been talking about my cousin so fucking bad.
Everybody.
Y'all been talking about my cousin so motherfucking. Charges dropped. Ain't no justified shit. And I'm looking how I'm looking. 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 Are we on that? Charges dropped. Y'all talking about? Y'all been talking all that about my cousin. My cousin's a good nigga. He made a bad decision. Man, them folks. And I'm still praying for his family. I'm still praying for his family.
He ain't gonna do no time.
I'm still praying for his family. And I hope his family praying for mine too. But we both took a loss.
The cousin expressed anger at the way Demetrius had reportedly treated his wife and pointed out that Jemiah's role in the affair had not been scrutinized as heavily as Decorlian's. While this viewpoint gained some traction online, others argued that it was irrelevant. Regardless of Demetrius's actions or Jemiah's involvement, they believed that Decorlian should have walked away from the situation rather than resorting to violence. According to another of Demetrius's uncles, In a post shared that Demetrius had told Jamia that he was unhappy with his wife. After several posts by onlookers about the role Jamia played, she would deactivate her Facebook page shortly after the incident. However, before doing so, she reportedly made posts that appeared to show a stronger allegiance to Demetrius than to her own boyfriend, who was now facing murder charges. There is still ongoing debate about whether Jamia Lawson should face charges herself. Some argue that she played a central role in the events and should be held accountable. But someone else felt more of the brunt. Demetrius's wife didn't just lose her husband, she lost him in the most humiliating way imaginable. She learned of his death and his infidelity all at once, forced to face the devastating truth in the most painful of circumstances. She's grappling with grief and betrayal at once. Demetrius's wife is left to navigate the overwhelming pain of losing her husband while also coming to terms with his infidelity. Meanwhile, Demetrius's students at Parker High School are struggling as well. These young men had looked up to Coach Meat, seeing him as a role model who taught them about discipline, hard work, and making responsible choices. Now, they're faced with reconciling the man they admired with the man who died in another man's bedroom. The timing only deepened the tragedy. Demetrius's death occurred just a week before the Stop the Violence Classic, an annual game meant to foster unity and promote safer communities. The irony of a coach who preached about good decision-making becoming a victim of the very violence the event aimed to prevent wasn't lost on anyone.
Let's continue with the news here in Central Alabama. After making school history, one local high school football team is preparing to climb another mountain, this time due to a tragedy.
A Parker High School football coach lost his life earlier this week in a shooting. WVTM 13's Bryce Olsland spoke with the principal and the head coach of the school and has more on how this tragedy is impacting their community.
Parker High School assistant football coach Demetrius Beverly was shot and killed at the Lakeshore Ridge apartment complex.
He's a hard-working coach on the field. He does what he's supposed to on the football field all the time with game planning and working with the coaches and working with the kid. He did a great job here at Parker.
His colleagues remembering him as a solid coach on and off the field.
He was a attention to detail kind of guy. He knew his ins and outs about football, on the field with the kids. He did a good job of breaking down field and understanding the game plan of each opponent.
Investigators say Beverly and a woman were in the apartment when they believed DeCorleone Robinson shot Beverly and ran. Robinson faces charges of murder and possession of a machine gun conversion device. Head coach Frank Warren says the loss is painful for the players and the team as a whole.
It was devastating to anybody to lose their life. I don't care how it happens, but you know, something we gained together as a team this year is going to be together. And it's time, that moment that we're working towards ends out of learning from this experience. And the guys here in the senior class took upon themselves to hold this team together.
Parker High football won their first state championship just last year. The team hopes to win back-to-back titles in honor of their beloved coach.
Life can be short. One day you're at practice, the next day you're on. Just to see just certain things you do in life and just impact you in the long run. So it's just something here that would use the motto, just use this inspiration to run it back.
In Birmingham, Bryce Olsland, WVTM 13.
The school plans to host an event Monday to honor Coach Beverly's life.
The case of Demetrius Beverly's death raises several important questions and even more moral dilemmas. It's clear that no one should take the life of another person in response to betrayal, no matter how deeply it hurts. Yet many who knew DeCorleone believe his reaction was driven by emotional pain, something that, in some ways, many could empathize with. Could a man truly be blamed for taking the life of another after finding his girlfriend in bed with a man who had been manipulating her, even though the relationship was his choice? Is there any room for sympathy when the stakes are so high? For those who believe in the crime of passion defense, it's a reminder of how quickly emotions can escalate into violence, especially when weapons are involved. But as legal experts pointed out, the presence of the modified weapon
complicates the story. While passion may have sparked the shooting, the act of planning, whether intentional or not, could mean the difference between temporary emotional loss and premeditated violence. So, where do we draw the line? Can we ever truly justify violence in the name of love? Or is it just an easy excuse for actions that are otherwise unforgivable? In this case, DeCorleone did not kill Demetrius out of a single moment of uncontrollable rage. He did so with a weapon that had been modified for rapid fire. Does that modification signal that he was prepared to kill even before he walked into that apartment? The legal ramifications of this act are severe, and DeCorleone faces decades in prison for the murder of a man whose actions, although they led to the tragic death, were not justifiable grounds for what followed. But what of Jamia Lawson? Should she face charges for her role in the affair? Many people in the community, and even some in the media, have called for her to be held accountable for starting this chain of events. Could her decisions, her emotional vulnerability, and her romantic entanglement with Demetrius have been more carefully examined before the shooting took place? The question remains, should Jamia bear some of the responsibility for this tragedy? The case is an opportunity for the community to reflect on the devastating consequences of emotional decisions. The loss of Demetrius, DeCorleone's arrest, and Jamia's involvement serve as painful reminders that when people are driven by emotions and egos, especially in relationships, they can hurt not just themselves, but everyone around them. At the end of the day, Demetrius Beverly's death is a tragedy that could have been prevented. If DeCorleone had walked away, if Jamia had chosen a different path, if Demetrius had been more honest with his wife, perhaps the outcome could have been very different. But the ripple effect of one man's betrayal and the fatal consequences of another's reaction are being felt by many. This is not just a story about one man's death. It's a cautionary tale about the consequences of living life in the heat of the moment. It's a lesson about how emotional decisions can haunt people for the rest of their lives. And it's a reminder that we must always be mindful of the power of our actions. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.